All right, welcome to the final playoff committee meeting. This is a full, this is the end. This is where we decide the committee. You guys are all being recorded, obviously, and there's a couple things now that's different from our other committee meetings. Is one, we all have to agree. No more, we'll just figure itself out. We all have to agree on at least the top 8, and then the only things to keep in mind is the top 4 seeds have to be conference champion auto bids if there's enough, which we will have enough. And then your top 8. And then the other things we have to keep in mind for 9 through 25 is Citrus Bowl is going to be the next 2 ranked user teams. The Outback Bowl is the 2 highest P5 non-users. And then the New Orleans Bowl is the next 2 highest G5 teams. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I'll retell you guys everything. But the first thing we have to do before we start ranking teams is settle the 6 auto bids. So first, SEC champion Tennessee is an auto bid. That's automatic. And then we also had Ohio State win theirs, so they're in. And then we had Cal win the Pac-12. We had Clemson win the ACC. And then who am I missing? We're missing the Big 12 is Baylor. They got theirs. Now, the first decision that you guys have to make, I cannot be in the conversation here, but we have 2 teams who were eligible for the G5 auto bid. It's between Buffalo and East Carolina. So you guys have to decide who gets the official auto bid for the G5.
All right. I'll start us off. I think that auto bid should go to Buffalo. 12-0 is 12-0. And if you can't earn the G5 auto bid by never losing, then how can you earn it?
Do you agree, Wind?
Yeah, personally. So I'm a undefeated kind of guy too. It just always makes me think of back when like BSU was undefeated until the last game of the season. Everyone's like, oh, like, you know, how are they not going for like a title or whatever it was way back in the day? But needless to say, they missed the field goal and it don't matter. But I don't know. To me, 12-0 is 12-0.
Yeah. All right. So Buffalo will go ahead. We just have to go through it. Personally, though, ECU has smoked everyone and looked better. But yeah, Buffalo undefeated. All right, so those are our top 6. So before, I mean, they don't have to be the top 6 seeds, but out of these 6 now, we have to seed the top 4. Okay, so I think universally, even though they looked terrible today, I think you have to reward Tennessee as the number 1 overall seed, especially because Iowa State lost. And you guys have a different opinion there?
Same. I mean, it's kind of the same logic. 12-0 is 12-0.
All right, so Tennessee
Or
is
13-0 now.
So Tennessee's our number 1 overall seed. Now the advantage here of the seeding is it's just simply distance to your first game. So the options for the first round games is going to be the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and what's the other one? Because the orange and the rose are the semis. So what's the other one? It's the God, I'm blanking. Got your peach, sugar, cotton, and the Fiesta Bowl. So Tennessee, are they closer to Georgia or are they closer to Louisiana?
Georgia, definitely.
Yeah, I think Georgia.
So that one will be.
It's not even close.
Not very far.
Okay, so that will be the Peach Bowl then, the 1 through 8. All right, so
Georgia connects to.
Yes, and Atlanta's north. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now number 2. So we have Tennessee off. So this is where it could be a differential of opinions. Iowa State lost. What do you guys think at number 2?
Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State now. A good second win over Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa State we ranked 3 last time, right? They're 12-1, the undefeated, or the sorry, the defending champions. They had an issue with Michigan and almost had an issue with Illinois, but I think that they're still a step ahead of Clemson and Cal, in my opinion, and then Baylor,
Yeah.
Buffalo as well. Yeah. All right. Do we all agree at
No,
Ohio State?
they're multiple steps.
Yes.
Yeah,
They've only got the one
yes,
loss, right?
for Ohio State.
Yes.
Yes, to Central Michigan.
So the only
Oh.
auto qualifier here that we have that has 2 losses is Baylor.
Okay, that's good to know.
So that means Ohio State. Are they going to be? They're probably closer to the sugar than the cotton, right?
Probably.
They have to
Sugar
be.
Bowl at?
I can pull up a map. Of
Where's the Sugar Bowl at again?
Louisiana, Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're closer to Louisiana. The Cotton's in Texas, ain't it?
No,
Yeah.
it may be north
Cotton's
enough
in
that
Dallas, yeah, or at the Jerry Dome, I think.
it helps out.
All right, so Ohio State will be in the sugar at number 2. All right, so crossing them out. Now this is where we could have a bunch of different opinions, because for me, I could see any of the 4 remaining teams being in any of these 2 spots. Cal, very impressive victory today. Then you had Clemson, another massively impressive victory today. Baylor just beat one of the best teams, overcome one of their only losses, but they do have that loss to Kansas State. And then Buffalo. So I don't even know where to start on how we go through these teams here, but I guess we'll start.
To be honest, I would have said Baylor here just because of it. What is this? Their like 7th straight fucking CFP.
Yeah, 6 straight CFP, but they do have 2 losses. So they just avenged the loss to Iowa State. They donked them, so I think that kind of makes up for it. They did lose by a touchdown to Kansas State, but that actually might be the best loss out of these remaining teams, because if you look at Clemson, their only loss was
Georgia
to
Tech, right?
Georgia Tech by 16. That's really not good, but they've made up for it here. And then let's see, Cal. They have the worst loss. You have Cal, who lost to Oregon State, who's 3-9 by 11. So yeah, so Baylor, if you kind of erase their loss to Iowa State, they have the best loss. But then of course we have Buffalo here, who's undefeated, but remember they just won on a Hail Mary, so
I mean, a win's a win, right?
Mm-hmm. They're still 12-0. I can't get over that.
I have them at 3 on my little list over here.
Buffalo at 3.
Yeah, that's just me.
I completely disagree with Buffalo being up there. I'm one of the people that say undefeated is undefeated, and I've said that since I've joined the SFA. But these teams are so much clearly above and ahead of Buffalo. It's not even funny.
For
Yeah,
me,
well,
though,
and that's why we're here, because like I'm with you. Like undefeated is undefeated, but you guys obviously know the history behind these teams more than me.
There's also a point where
I'm the layman guy.
that it's like the real life example. When you have 12-1 P5s versus like group of 5s, it comes down to how badly you blow people out, right?
Yeah.
Or like how you win. So like for me personally, I think you put Buffalo above Clemson because they blew out Georgia Tech, and that was the loss for Clemson by 16.
Yeah, and then they blew a 21-point lead today too against the 2-loss G5.
That is true.
So I think I like Cal here, but I hate that loss. So but I also don't like putting a 2-loss Baylor at 3.
Yeah.
Because their history in the CFP, this is their 6th straight trip, but they've only made the semis twice. They're 2-3 in the first round game, so it's like, and they've never made the Natty. And it's kind of the same spiel as always with them. Oh, I think my vote here would be Cal, but I don't like it. They did beat Michigan State. They beat Wazoo, Stanford. Then they just destroyed.
They just beat Arizona bad, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
I do think Buffalo should be ahead of Cal without any doubt because I think that Oregon State loss and Arizona's not as great as a loss as it seems on paper,
Right.
or great as a win as it seems on paper. So, like, honestly, I would put Buffalo ahead of Cal because of that. And Cal's been so wishy-washy with how they've played all season too.
So Buffalo should be ahead of Cal, should be ahead of Clemson, should be ahead of ECU because Buffalo's the one receiving the auto bid, and should be ahead of Baylor because no losses should be ahead of 2 losses. So
well,
it really
I
feels
don't
like
know about that though because Baylor just overcame.
I mean,
the
Baylor
Iowa
just
State
curb stomped
loss.
Iowa State in the CCG, and Iowa State was a heavy favorite the entire season to go to the.
So yeah, I mean the thing about Baylor though is like they lost Iowa State on game day, but they also now have 2 top 10 wins against ISU and CU. I guess because we're just talking about losses, let's go through the wins at least here. So ASU's an okay win. And then you get the Syracuse win by 3, so there's 2 quality wins. Then Boston College, I'd say South Carolina is, for me, what I judge as a quality win is a bowl eligible team. So we'll go 4 there, and then 5 for, or no, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so they have 5 quality wins.
hey, I'm a quality win.
Baylor, they have Southern Miss, the CU, TCU, Iowa State, Kansas. They lost Kansas State, and then ISU. So that's 6. This is not like the greatest method, but just
I respect this. Yeah,
you have the overtime win against JSAL, Texas, who was a division winner. The Central Michigan win, so there's 3. Miami, EMU, so that's 5. You got Toledo, 6. And then Kent, and then Toledo again, so that's 8. But then again, you got some of these 6-6 teams, but there's that. And then Cal, 8-4, Michigan State, USC, Washington State, Oregon, Stanford, and Arizona, so that's 6. So the team with the least amount of quality wins is Clemson.
Clemson, I'm high on them right now, just because I feel like in the last few weeks they've really come on.
Yeah, I can see that too. I think I'm leaning more Baylor than Buffalo, but I don't know about that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just seeding at this point because
Well, yeah, but
both
it does
Baylor and
matter.
Buffalo are going to.
Like, Buffalo has their fair share of quality wins. They're undefeated. I feel like they've earned the right to be this high. Like, they've got the common opponent dub over Clemson. We can take a closer look at them in Cal. We talked about the G5 stuff, and then with Baylor, I got trouble putting a 2-loss team over a no-loss team.
Yeah. I do that. And then I don't really know a whole lot about Clemson. Just I'm trying to go back and look through some of these scores.
Yeah, let's look at Clemson here. I mean, we were really high on Clemson last week too, and they did nothing but destroy.
Well, the problem with what happened with Clemson last week was more so us correcting the fact that we ranked them so low all season long.
Yeah,
the overcorrection.
It's just their schedule hadn't come online yet, and it did at the very end.
Oh yeah, 43-10 against Virginia.
I mean, they just dominated Virginia. They dominated Boston. No, the Boston College was a Hail Mary. 3-point win over Syracuse.
I mean, just with
This is
the
where it
fact
gets hard.
I would honestly put Buffalo over Clemson.
I think the Georgia Tech isn't enough to put Buffalo over them.
Yeah, that's where I'm at on that.
The thing for me though is like the wins for Baylor are so good, and then they redeem that one loss. So for me, it's not necessarily as crazy of a loss, right? And then I guess I feel like in my mind I'm inflating Cal's wins a bit because it's a win over McNasty, it's a win over a good Wazoo team, it's a win over another user, right? And Stanford, some big name teams, but they're not necessarily the greatest teams, right? Like only one of these teams has less than three losses or less. So, and I think that for me the Big 12 is the best conference. So I don't think it's that crazy to put Baylor over them when they redeem their only big blemish. I mean, the Kansas State loss isn't great, but it is a touchdown. All right, as far as 3 and 4, who do you guys? Where are we at? Mine's Baylor, then Buffalo. Zach, what are you at?
I'm thinking Clemson, Buffalo, one of those two.
Wind.
It's a toughie.
Yeah. Dogwater or wind. Who are your 3 and 4 right now?
Oh shit, I was muted. So I had Cal and Buffalo on my end.
Okay.
I have Buffalo over Cal, to be honest. I think Cal's.
And to me, either one of them is really like I'm fine going either way with that.
We all have one common team.
Yeah, Dogwater. Who's your 3 and 4 right now?
I really want Baylor at 3, to be honest. I just think with that win against Iowa State today, Baylor's such a number 3 team.
So we have 1 Clemson, 1 Cal, we have 2 Baylor, and then all 4 of us have Buffalo.
Yep.
But all of us, or at least me and Dogwater, have them at 4, and you guys have them at 3, I guess.
No, I got Buffalo at 4.
I want Buffalo either at 3 or 4. It's fine to me wherever they lay. If they do end up at 4, I would push for Clemson
I
at
can't
3.
justify them going 5th or 6th.
No,
Yeah.
no. I think Buffalo 4 is the best spot for them. Baylor also, you can play it as like Ohio State at 2, 3 straight national championship appearances. They're 12 and 1. Of course, they're number 2. Baylor, kind of in the same boat. Record 6 straight CFP. They just destroyed a good Iowa State team.
They've done 6 in a row.
Yeah, breaking Oklahoma's record.
Let's go at the program.
Yeah. All right. So at least for right this second, let's just move on to the at-larges. Let's pencil in Baylor or Buffalo. If we need to switch the matchups or something, we can always flip them. I'm fine with that. And then Baylor right now we go to the Cotton because that's closest. And then Buffalo to the Fiesta. Okay, so then who do we have between... Okay, so now we have left over, we have Cal and we have Clemson. And then we have at-larges. Who's on your guys' radar for at-larges?
I'm going to tell you right now, I personally think ECU is better than all those teams that you just mentioned.
Ooh.
We've seen last year that ECU can compete with the P5 going down to the wire with Tennessee in the Citrus. And now Tennessee's in the playoffs as the number 1 seed. To me, I think ECU should be somewhere in this conversation now.
This is also where I believe ECU should enter the conversation.
All right, so I'm just going to get all the teams' names out there that would be in the actual conversation. So you have Cal and Clemson obviously have to be in the top 8, but doesn't matter at this point where. Then the next 4 teams at large wise would be ECU, Iowa State, Colorado, and then Boston College is 2 loss. So you could put them in, but they're down at 14 last week. I don't see a way they jump to the top 8. And then team like Florida as well. Illinois lost, Cincy lost, so they're not in. So yeah, so it's really down to 3 teams for 2 spots. So
to be honest, at 5, I really do want to put ECU. I get because they are the 1 loss, and I get that Clemson and them have the CCGs, but so does ECU finally. To me, that's just ECU finally getting over the hump, beating Chad Barber. They got the CCG, and to be honest, I think ECU just looked so much more dominant this season than anybody left.
I will say though, last time we had 2 G5s in, they faced each other.
Oh no!
And it was kind of a bummer.
Would they be facing each other with you at 5?
Yeah. If we keep
well, then
Buffalo
what about
at
Clemson
4.
at 5 and you at 6?
Or you could flip Buffalo and Baylor, and I'd face Baylor at 4.
That's a hot matchup.
I'm okay with that, honestly, if just to avoid the G5 versus G5 matchup.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So you
especially
guys want
Buffalo can at
ECU
least make
5?
the case I'm undefeated.
Yeah, ECU 5.
So yeah, 10, Tennessee, Ohio, Baylor, Buffalo, ECU, and then
I think Iowa State should still be in it.
So, okay, so as far as seeding goes, we're flipping Buffalo and Baylor then. So Buffalo then is going to go to the Cotton because that's closer to them. And then Baylor's going to go to the Fiesta. And at 5, ECU going, dude, this draw on the left side of the bracket is wild. Alright, ECU at 5 in the Fiesta. Alright, so we're at 6 now. Personally, for me, I think you have to rank Cal and Clemson here at 6 and 7. I don't think there's any other way to go about it. They're
Clemson,
conference
Cal.
champions, which is a big stepping stone. So it's comparing a Georgia Tech loss to. I personally would vote Clemson over Cal, though.
That's I think it should go Clemson, Cal.
Okay, I think that's pretty because they have better wins, and then also the loss isn't as bad, even though it was by more. Georgia Tech is a lot better team than Oregon State.
yeah.
All right. So now here is the big struggle and where there's going to be a lot of difference of opinion. Number 8 to face Tennessee. Is it going to be Colorado or is it going to be Iowa State?
Yep.
Both not champs.
Dude,
10 and 2 versus 11 and 2. You got Colorado.
I get Colorado the head-to-head over them, but at the same time, I think Iowa State's still multiple levels ahead of them, and they made the CCG. Colorado did not.
Well, yeah.
Colorado's also got to win over number 4 Baylor.
Yeah, so.
Ooh.
Well, no, they lost to them. So Colorado's losses are Arkansas and Baylor. They beat Iowa State by 3. And then other quality wins is Indiana. They beat Indiana. Nebraska survived in overtime there. And then Utah they ended up beating. Then Iowa State here.
Can we see Iowa State?
Iowa State beat Arkansas. They beat Iowa, beat SDSU, Kansas, Notre Dame.
Beat Notre Dame.
Baylor, they beat them by 13.
To me, that's Iowa State.
But they lost the head-to-head. That's the whole thing about this is the head-to-head loss, and then they just completely didn't show up today. Is that enough?
Yeah, I just don't think a 3-point head-to-head win is enough to solidify anything like concrete. Like keeping Iowa State out, who's been up there all season long.
Yeah, so just from my perspective looking at it, so Iowa was ranked second going into today.
Yes.
I just think one loss in a bowl game, yeah, it was pretty bad, but I think they'll all of a sudden say, hey, you guys are now the 9th best team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're like somebody else said, like they at least made the appearance at the bowl, like for the championship.
They've now traded with Baylor, which I like.
Yeah, that'd just be a hard one to take. Like, oh, you went from second to, well, sorry, boys, one loss and you're out. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be their second loss. But
I would be okay putting Iowa State here because they have the common opponent win over Arkansas. They have a lot more wins, including another top 25 win over Notre Dame, who we probably will end up ranking here. They did beat Baylor more, even though they lost to them. And then that 3-point game was just too close to call.
I just, in my opinion, it's got to be more than a 3-point head-to-head win for it to be considered like
a blowout.
Concrete evidence.
Well, I don't know about that.
I wouldn't say a blowout.
Has a lot
it
of
would have to be like.
But I'm also not a big fan of teams getting punished for going to the conference championship, right?
Yeah.
Because Colorado has the head-to-head, they're really the only other team that I'm even considering here.
Yeah,
like that's what
no
head-to-head's getting them. Because I think everybody else is toast.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna recommend Wyoming. No.
Yes, Wyoming at 8. And you'd probably
agree.
Too. All right, so I'm penciling in Iowa State here. Okay. So, if we keep what we have right now, you have number 1 Tennessee taking on number 8 Iowa State in the Peach Bowl. You have Ohio State taking on California, number 7, in the Sugar Bowl. You have Buffalo, number 3, taking on Clemson in the Cotton Bowl. And then you have Baylor taking on East Carolina in the Fiesta Bowl.
I like it.
Oh, Lordy. I do not like it. This path for me is just... I mean, this is the best, I think, talent-wise, the best playoff we've ever had. There's always been like a team where you don't feel like
Baylor, right?
Yeah, Baylor is number 4.
Yeah, so if you're
Baylor,
you're golden.
No, they're gonna pass the torch to me. All right, so Colorado at 9. Is that everybody? Are we good with that?
Yeah.
All right, so
Colorado reeks of Citrus Bowl.
So Colorado's not a user, so they're going to be into the Outback Bowl. So the top 2 active users will go Citrus, and then Outback will be the CPUs, and then New Orleans is the G5s. So 10.
I do think Flame needs to be at 10 because he was at 10 last week. He hung in there with Ohio State, so
he did hang in there late with Ohio State. Since he got flattened, Virginia got flattened, and then Florida and Boston College didn't even play. Arkansas didn't play. Syracuse didn't play. Georgia didn't play, and then Arizona got flattened. Alabama didn't play. Toledo lost on a Hail Mary. Michigan State didn't play. Houston lost. Notre Dame, Wazoo, Northwest. Yeah. Okay. So I think Illinois staying there is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think probably Citrus Bowl is going to be Illinois and Virginia.
Yeah.
And like looking at these teams here,
so
looking at the user teams.
Rankings, okay, so as far as rankings go, because now we're just ranking them per usual. We have Cincinnati, we have Virginia, which really it's kind of equal losses if you know, both just got smoked. This one's a 33-point loss. Cincinnati's what ended up being, what is that, 28. So do you still rank Cincinnati over Virginia like we did last time, or do we now insert a team like Florida up here, 9-3? That's who we had at 13 last week. We're at 11 right now. Then we also have Boston College, who is a 2-loss team. A Hail Mary loss to Clemson. Did smoke Syracuse. The loss to CMU. I kind of think Boston College is the next best.
I think so too. I think they're getting a little benefit from not having to play in a championship game, and look nice at those 2 losses.
Yeah. Okay, so if this rank holds, it would be Colorado and Boston College in the Outback Bowl, which I think is perfectly reasonable for the top 2 P5 programs. So I'm happy with that.
That sounds fine to me. Yeah.
Yeah. No 3-loss in that game, and that would be a fun one because SFA players on both those teams. Okay.
Right.
Then I think that, I don't really think I'd want to punish Virginia and Cincinnati too much. They did have really good seasons. Do you guys want to jump Florida though over them, or do you want to kind of stay?
That's what I'm thinking about right now. I'm not sure. Florida's quite good.
We lost Dogwater.
Yeah, that's fine. We only need 3, and we're on the easy part now. So Florida.
Find Florida. Where are they at?
Yeah, so Florida, this is a team that's kind of been weird for us. They barely lost to Tennessee, but then they have that weird loss to Oregon in overtime, and then they lost to Bama by 3. Nice win over Georgia, so they've been ranked ahead of Georgia pretty handedly all season. And then we saw Virginia and Cincinnati, and then the only other team here would be Arkansas, which Arkansas is not eligible for the Citrus Bowl, even though they're a user, because they've been inactive this season, so it wouldn't matter if we ranked them over Virginia.
That's Arkansas?
Yeah, this is Arkansas. Tough loss against ISU, but they did beat CU. Weird loss to West Virginia, and then obviously the game day loss to South Carolina.
I just think Arkansas's not as good as we maybe have made them out to be.
No, absolutely. Like a 2-point win over Texas A&M as well in that last week. So I kind of want to be a little bit mean and send a message to teams like, hey, if you're going to make your CCG, at least make it entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So I would go Florida, then stick with the Cincinnati, and then the Virginia. That would be my next 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida is that good, and they're going to compete no matter what rank we put them at.
Oh, yeah.
I'm down to see Florida
The
jump.
backup was amazing, too. So,
yeah.
Okay, so where we're at right now is New Orleans. Okay, and then is Citrus. Okay, so 9's Colorado. They're in the Outback Bowl. Illinois gets the Citrus. You got Boston College in the Outback Bowl. Florida will be in a bowl that's to be determined. Cincinnati gets a spot in the New Orleans Bowl, which is the top 2 remaining G5 teams, and then Virginia gets that second Citrus spot. So we would have Illinois versus Virginia and Colorado versus Boston College. I like those games. I think that's good.
They sound fun.
We're down to
next up,
14 now?
we're at 15 now.
15.
So I think the next 3 is super easy. It's the same as our rankings last week at 15, 16, 17. Arkansas, Syracuse, Georgia. And we're at 15 here as well.
Where do I see last?
Last week's is in
rankings?
the committee rankings, which is 2 channels above this one.
That's easy.
So Georgia, once again, good start. Lost to Bama.
Yeah.
I think Georgia is patently better than Arkansas.
You want Georgia over Arkansas now? So just remember, this is a team where they lose to all the good teams and beat the bad teams. Their best win is South Carolina, or Texas, I guess. These 2 up top.
I mean,
At least
Arkansas lost to
has,
South Carolina.
yeah, that's true. But then again, they have the win over Colorado, though, too.
Yeah, it is a nice win.
And then let's look at Syracuse. Syracuse kind of in the same boat. Didn't beat any of the good teams in their conference except Virginia. They did beat them. So I don't think you could put Syracuse at 15, even because then you have to consider the head-to-head over Syracuse, you know, which I don't want to have to consider. I think Virginia deserved their spot, and then they got blown out by Boston College, lost barely to Clemson. I think we should stick with Arkansas, but I would be okay flipping Georgia if that's what we want to do.
That's what feels right to me. If the committee disagrees, I'm willing to hear otherwise.
All right, Wind, it's down to you.
I don't know if I have enough stake in that.
Yeah, you're a part. You decided to show up, so you are a better committee
Your
member
voice
than anyone
matters.
else. So Arkansas, here's their schedule. They had that CU win, the loss to ISU, a bad loss to West Virginia, and then the South Carolina loss. Yeah, so the Georgia losses are only against the good teams. You have a quality win against Colorado, but then some worse
They
losses.
both won against Colorado?
No, just Arkansas. Yeah, so if we look at Georgia, they've lost to all these big teams in Tennessee, Bama, and Florida, but then they took care of business against everyone else. Yeah, there's not really a star on their schedule.
I think, just going off of it real quick, like if my thing's right, I could see Georgia going ahead there. Because we're just talking about swapping Arkansas and Georgia, right? Syracuse is staying in that same spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could put Georgia ahead just based on that. Just what I know anyway.
All right. So we'll go Georgia at 15. Sorry, we're moving up the SEC teams a little bit. Wouldn't expect anything different from this committee. All right, you got Syracuse.
It helps. I don't know any of them, so no.
Arkansas. All right, so now we're at 18. This is where Arizona was. I think they should drop. They just weren't even competitive. The next teams we have ranked here is Alabama, Toledo, Michigan State, Houston. Houston lost and Toledo lost. I don't want to even rank Houston anymore. Losing to 7-5. SMU
that's their second loss to SMU, right?
Yeah, that's embarrassing. I don't think it's their second loss.
It's embarrassing.
They lost to LA
Okay,
Tech.
no, they won the first one, yeah.
Yeah, but 2 in a row, both terrible losses to terrible teams. I just get them out of there. Alabama's 4 loss. Toledo just lost on a Hail Mary, obviously, 10-3. I think you might still rank them, but I'd rather rank the G5 champs over them because they're also 3 loss. So I think Toledo might be a back burner team.
I'd be okay with keeping Toledo in the rankings.
Yeah, I just don't think at 18, I don't think they should move up for losing.
No,
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
So the next team then would just be back to the SEC, go to Georgia or go to Alabama, which
Alabama's, they're good. We know.
They've had a great last month ever since they almost took out Tennessee. Yeah,
is the sim just hate Alabama? Like, I'm not used to seeing such a high rank, such a low rank.
All right.
They're just not who they used to be.
Yeah. Still good. They still have a good team.
Starting off 0-2 really hurt the perception as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I don't know how far you drop Alabama or Arizona, but I think it's a little bit more of a drop than right now. I think this next tier is these teams we had ranked: Michigan State, Notre Dame, Wazoo, Northwestern. They lost to Cal barely. They did beat NU.
Yeah, I'm okay thinking about Wazoo here.
So last week we
MSU.
ranked Michigan State at 21, and we ranked Wazoo 24.
Michigan State's probably the better team.
Yeah.
Probably. So their season's ended, right? Because I didn't play nothing
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Michigan's probably the better team between them and Wazoo's Washington.
And they only
correct?
lost to Cal on a Hail Mary.
Washington State, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with just like. So we have Michigan State. I'd be fine because then we had Notre Dame over Wazoo. So I'd be fine doing Notre Dame, Wazoo, and then you just pencil back in Arizona behind them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Wazoo, because let's see, let's look at it. Did they play head to head? That's the question. Okay, so I think you still put Arizona above Wazoo, maybe because of this head to head.
Do they play?
So that feels like a nice definitive head to head there.
Yeah, even though there's 2 more losses. Okay, so we're gonna go 20. Let's see, Notre Dame, and then 21 would be Arizona. So dropping 3 for Arizona, that makes sense. And then Wazoo. Okay, so we still have 1 bid to the New Orleans Bowl available. Okay, so this is what we're at. So 9 Colorado, 10 Illinois, 11 Boston College, 12 Florida, 13 Cincy, 14 Virginia, 15 Georgia, 16 Syracuse, 17 Arkansas, 18 Alabama, 19 Michigan State, 20 Notre Dame, 21 Arizona, 22 Wazoo. So we have 3 more spots, 23, 24, and 25. I think that we potentially rank Arkansas State, but they did lose to Toledo, so I think a Sun Belt championship trumps the head-to-head.
I really like Toledo's game today. I feel like they shouldn't be punished too bad.
That was the Hail Mary one.
The I think the Mountain West champion. I would like to rank Fresno State. I like rewarding the conference champions.
2 solid wins to close out the season. I can definitely see them getting a rank.
Just like 25 for these guys. But then again, if you're gonna drop one of them, it would be the Mountain. It would be them. Obviously Toledo. And then we also we ranked Northwestern last week, but I don't know. So let's just go through one more time. Make sure we don't miss anyone because we have 3 spots. I'm going to write down everybody who we think deserves a rank. I think we're done with the ACC. Pittsburgh, no. None of these other teams.
I don't see anybody.
We have these 2 ranked. I don't think anybody else there.
No.
Big 12, doesn't look like it. We have these 4. Big 10, Northwestern is a team to potentially look at. Nobody else for me. We already talked about Houston. I think we dropped them. And I don't think you rank SMU.
Yeah.
Independence, BYU, no. Notre Dame's already ranked. MAC, we have Toledo as a talking point already.
And I don't want to talk about CMU, goddammit.
I don't either. They didn't play this week. We didn't rank them last week. They've lost 2 out of 3 since losing their quarterback to a season-ending injury. I think you have to consider that. So I think
a 13-41 loss to Toledo. Oh man, it gets worse
Fresno
every time
State,
I see it.
We might talk about here.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about Fresno State. Look at their schedule, compare it to Toledo's.
Pac-12. I don't think anybody deserves to be talked about. Like Stanford, we went over this last week. 3 straight losses in the year. Just
bummer.
Get them out. We ranked them. Maybe Arizona State if we're looking for a spot, but I don't think you reward that. Georgia, do you rank Texas at 25 for the loss?
You rank Texas? There's chickens who need to be ranked.
FIU got smoked. We're not ranking them. Georgia Southern, you didn't play. I don't.
And then Ark State.
Arkansas State. So right now I have 4 written down. We have 3 spots. Northwestern, Toledo, Fresno, Arkansas State. For me, I think you have to rank Toledo and Arkansas State. As far as the other two teams, I don't care who would get it that last spot.
I think I lean G5.
Yeah, I mean, I like Toledo's games.
Yeah. Okay, so who do we think over? Oh, so they have the head-to-head, Arkansas and Toledo. I think we just go head-to-head, give it to Toledo, even though they have the Sun Belt Championship, because they lost on a Hail Mary, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Toledo has just shown that they're pretty damn good.
Do y'all have any like thing you're discussing in hardcore depth, or you already figured everything out?
We figured everything out.
So, I mean, we decided Tennessee at 9. I think that.
Yeah, I don't even know how you feel about that. Wyoming got a shoe in at 15, I think.
All right, so let me go back through the rest of it here. We just finished the 25. So if somebody has a massive gripe, whatever.
Yeah, please speak.
So this would then put Toledo in the New Orleans Bowl, by the way. Okay, so here is the final top 25. Number 1, Tennessee is in the Peach Bowl against the Iowa State Cyclones at 8. You have the Ohio State Buckeyes at 2 versus
insane first round matchup.
Bears in the Sugar. That's a 2v7. At 3, you have Buffalo in the Cotton versus Clemson. And then at 4, you have Baylor in the Fiesta taking on East Carolina. At 9, we have Colorado. At 10, we have Illinois, who's going to the Citrus. At 11, you got Boston College. At 12, Florida. 13 is Cincinnati in the New Orleans. At 14, Virginia gets the second Citrus spot. Georgia at 15, 16 is Syracuse, 17 Arkansas, 18 Alabama, 19 Michigan State, 20 Notre Dame, 21 Arizona, 22 Wazoo, 23 Toledo gets that second New Orleans Bowl, so against Cincinnati, 24 Ark State, the Sun Belt champs, and then 25 would be Fresno State, the Mountain West champs. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, my only issue is actually matchup based. I feel like, although I do like, I think where we ended up ranking the top 8, to me, Tennessee Iowa State is an insane first round game, and we should probably do what we can to push that one later in.
But the thing about that though is like, the only teams, like, this is a year though where you have so many one-loss champs. Like, I don't see how we can give Iowa State the benefit of the doubt over a one-loss P5 champ when they've lost 2 of their last 3 games. Let's see, we can go back to it and reestablish. So Iowa State 11-2, dominant, 3-point loss on the road to CU, whatever. And they lay a complete duck today.
Yeah, today's by far their worst performance.
I think I would have completely agreed putting them at, maybe 6 or 7. But I think for me, I have to reward Clemson and Cal for getting the job done, even though I guess you could say it's a lesser opponent.
Easier job.
If they played it close at least, but they got smoked. And then
they did.
Clemson winning by 33, and then you had the 28-point win or whatever it was for Cal.
Yeah, Clemson has shown enough dominance and consistency that I don't feel bad having them above Iowa State, and I'm all right with that. Like, that makes sense to me. But let's take a look at Cal.
So Cal,
1-score win. 1-score win. Big blowout. 1-score win.
Yeah.
Another 1-score win. Another 1-score win. Another 1-score win. I lost count of how many that was.
Yes. Now, we all knew they were pretenders at the beginning of the year, and then it felt like that they got the loss to Oregon State, and that kind of woke them up. Not against Oregon, they just got back in the win column. But these last 3 weeks, they've kind of just made a point, I guess.
They're good wins at the very end here, but I think I like Iowa State more. And if that is, an absolutely opposed opinion, I will understand why and I'll change my vote, but I do want to put that out there.
Dogwater and Wind, what do you think? Are we reopening this discussion?
Absolutely not. No.
All right.
I mean, yeah, I think if you show up at the end of the year, like, I mean, it's still showing up though, right? Like, I don't know. I just
feel
if
like
they trend
if
the way
you're-
these last games just went, like, oh, Iowa's on a slump, Cal's on an up. You know what I mean?
Just for me,
Yeah.
if you look at the situation, if this was IRL, right? You have Cal who just, whatever, they needed a win and in, who cares? But then you have Iowa State. You have a chance to cement the Heisman. You have a chance to
Do it all.
eliminate Baylor, who's been a thorn in your side for the last 5 years, and you've never been able to get over the hump. You got over the hump in the regular season. You can't do it a second time, and it wasn't even close. Like, it just feels like they didn't even show up today.
And they still put TCU in the playoff.
TCU, and you know what? Iowa State's in the playoff, but you know what? I'm gonna say it. That was a touchdown. They didn't even review it. When Kendre Miller, he scored.
I'm pretty sure he scored.
They didn't even review it. I'm like, what the hell is that? That's when I went. That was the day where TCU lost and USC lost. I about canceled my college football fan.
USC losing is so free. Bet on it every time. The Pac-12 isn't real.
I know. Okay. All right. So let's go back through one more time to finalize it. Tennessee, Iowa State in the Peach. That's going to be the best game one, obviously. This whole left side of the bracket's going to be wild.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this whole bracket is stacked because you have Tennessee and Iowa State, arguably the two best teams all season long. But then on the right side, you have Ohio State and Clemson, who are the last two national champions. And then you have Cal, who is a top 5 program in SFA history and win percentage. And then you have the Miracle on Ice Buffalo. And then you have the storybook matchup between Baylor and ECU. Ugh. I don't like it.
This is beautiful. This is a great slate here, boys.
Every matchup's going to be good. There's not a matchup on here where I feel like it's going to be awful. The only one that seems like it might blow out is Buffalo-Clemson, or the Ohio State, as they tend to do. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 SFA quarterbacks. There's a SFA player in every single one of these teams, so I think this is good. All right, so obviously final rules, no saying who's in, who's out before it's officially released.
I'm gonna go put it on blast.
And I will work on that right now. And then the final thing is the semis. The Orange Bowl, because it's closer, will be on Tennessee's side, and then the Rose Bowl will be on the right-hand side. And then the Natty will be whatever the option is closest to Tennessee. So we're not going back to the Indiana for like the 3rd fucking year in a row. Going to the
no Lucas Oil
Stadium. No Lucas Oil this year. Alrighty. Well, this was a good meeting. 53. That's a quality time. Thank you guys for taking your time. And yeah.
Hell yeah.